Hey everyone, it's Mattowarrior of Mattowarrior's Metal Madness, and doing the fourth or fifth episode. I can't keep track. There's been a lot of stuff going on in my life, and I can't even talk today. But I'll talk anyways for an hour or whatever. So let's start with what our usual thing is, and that's the news. I'm going to change that music probably next episode too. It's get a little old. So let's bring up Blabbermouth and see what's going on in the metal world. Latest news, Wolfgang Van Halen hopes to record second Mammoth WVH album this year. I'm ready to get back in the studio. Okay, yeah, not really, don't know. It's all right. He's all right, you know. It's cool that he got his father to do the Van Halen reunion with Dave Lee Roth. You can hear the chair. I'm going to prove that. Okay. I'm all self-conscious today and shit. So, let's see what else we have going on. Dee Snider absolutely approves the Ukrainians using "we're not going to take it" as our battle cry. Fuck Russia. Okay, yeah. I'm not going to go into any political stuff that's going on in this episode. Like I said, I'm going to try to avoid all that as much as possible on this podcast. Ukrainian metal band Ginger released a new video message from Kiev. This war cannot be justified by anything. Well, I agree. No war can, because usually I am saying something political. Whatever. Sue me. No war is justified. No, most wars are perpetuated by those in power for money and power and corruption and other interests, including the United States. So no war is justified. No war is good. You can check some of my other content, other places, for what I think about what's going on, which I may or may not give out on this podcast one day. I don't know. I have a couple different online identities. I'll just say that. Ghost Tobias Forge explains why he decided to reteam with Mattowarrior, producer for Impera album. Okay. Slipknot's Corey. At least I said, I don't care. Like that last episode. I don't care. I just don't care, man. I don't care. Slipknot's Corey Taylor on Pantera's Vulgar Display of Power. Still one of my favorite albums. Okay. Well, yeah. I like it. But is it the be-all, end-all of heavy metal for 1992? Well, I have some personal opinions about that. Maybe I'll say it one day in this podcast, because this is all about opinion and analysis, and soon forthcoming interviews. I'm going to have 2 interviews coming up, and more details on that soon. Not this episode, but next episode probably be 1 or 2, or split them up. So Alice Cooper is putting final touches on new album. That's cool. I like a lot of Alice Cooper stuff. So I got into him only the last 3 or 4 years. I don't know what it was, but I just all of a sudden got this huge interest in shock rock and metal. Wasp, I always liked Wasp, but I always liked Wasp since the late 90s, early 2000s, especially late 2000s for some reason. I always used to listen to Wild Child and go out and see whoever I was dating at the time and get all pumped up for the date and stuff with Wild Child. Anyways, I got into Alice Cooper and Lizzie Borden more recently, so I just have a fascination with these bands and the whole thing. So Megadeth bassist James Lemons, okay. Doro Pesch reflects on darker chapters of her life. If it hadn't been for the fans, I probably would have killed myself. Whoa, that is dark. I'm not going to read the article, but you could see it. That's just, wow. Metallica play first show. Okay. Deep Purple's Ian Pace pays tribute to Procol Harum. Harum's I cannot talk today, but I'm going to talk anyways. I'm all mealy-mouthed or whatever. Wow, why are they running the same headline twice? Skid Row performs. Okay. Bruce Dickinson explains why Iron Maiden uses UFOs Dr. Doctor as his entrance music. It's like a wrestler, Iron Maiden? I don't. Hey, I love UFO. I got into UFO probably around the same time I got into Scorpions. It's the early 2000s. I was just trying to get better at guitar, and I said, Michael Schenker's supposed to be good, so let's check this out, blah, blah, blah. So I was hooked. A lot of similarities between them and Maiden anyways. So Lizzie Hale, how Hailstorm's new album Back from the Dead got its title. I think the Heat album is supposed to, the new Heat album is supposed to be called that too, but we'll see if they name it that. I'm not really much of a fan. So I'm a fan of Heat. I'm just not a fan of Hailstorm. There's worse stuff out there, but David Draymond, I don't think there would be a Disturbed without Pantera. Whatever. Tool details ultra expensive vinyl. I think it's like $800. I added that last part. Fear Inoculum ultra deluxe vinyl. I think it's like $800. 5 LPs. Whatever. Okay, some more political shit from these boomers. Stevie Nicks on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This is Hitler coming back to haunt us. No, I'd say maybe more Saddam Hussein back in, the Kuwait invasion, more whatever, maybe on a higher scale than that, though. But I don't know. I'm not going to talk about politics, like I said. I think all sides are bad in a war, for the most part, because war is not about, freeing, shit. I'm trying to stop the politics, okay? I'm really hooked. I think it's just a little bit crazy to go and delve into that right now. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm getting sick of like comparisons people make to other things, and I do that myself, but whatever. Anyways, let's move on from that. Rob Halford says leftover material from his Confess autobiography is being used in soon-to-be-announced project. Okay, what kind of project is like the Heroin Diaries with Nikki Sixx? Is it going to be like lyrical like concept or something? I don't know. Saxon releases documentary. Yeah. Ex-Motley Crue singer John Corabi, people have lost all sense of reasoning. Yeah, they have. I don't know. Scorpions share music video for new single When You Know Where You Come From. Some of the new Scorpions is actually not bad, that new album. It seems like almost like an old school Scorpions album. Like, I don't mean old school as like Uli John Roth, which is my favorite era. I mean like early 80s. So I might check it out, Most of DSI's next album has been written, says new guitarist Taylor Nordberg. Well, I might have to check that out, because anytime they get new guitarists, a lot of the time, they're revitalized, it seems like, DSI. So I might have to check that out. I really liked that Stench of Redemption. I know that was a long time ago, but watch Sebastian Bach covers the Allman Brothers, whatever. Whatever, I don't know. Kix guitarist Ron Yunkins battle alcoholism. Okay, I like Kix. I like their old shit. It's pretty good. Is that the bass player, or the guy that wrote the songs or whatever? Shit, I don't know. Hollywood Undead. Yeah. Cannibal Corpse drummer is a complete compliment being called the Motorhead of death metal. Well, yeah, they've done pretty well. Dee Snider releases music video for Stand, featuring footage from documentary about Great White Concert Fire. Wow, they actually had a documentary on that. Rush releases Vital Signs live in YYZ 1981. Oh, yeah. A lot of live stuff's cool. I like old live stuff. I wish Iron Maiden would release more live shit from the 80s. Like, they could have more Peace of Mind stuff, or Somewhere in Time era, or even No Prayer for the Dying, just that's not the 80s, but just more stuff. I mean, I wish bands would do like more deluxe things, like I said. John Bottom's grandson, wow, I guess he's playing music. Teamed up with Korn. Korn's Ray Luzier, whatever. Except singer Udo Dirk Schneider releases cover of Queen's "We Will Rock You." Now that might be something to listen to, just for that voice singing that. I want to listen to it. Can't listen to it on the show. I don't have like a license to play music, but other than the public domain stuff I got from this one dude, I'll call it out on the next episode, because I'm trying to just record this right now. I'm not going to do any breaks. Here are Corey Taylor's acoustic cover version of Red Rider's Lunatic Fringe. All right. Watch Journey performs in Philadelphia during Freedom 2022 U.S. Tour. What happened to my... Why am I buying Korn tickets? Oops. I just was clicking too fast. Stone Temple Pilots drummer says making Perdita album was amazing and cathartic process. With Suga, new video. That might be okay. Mickey Lee, Motorhead tribute. Okay. Brujeria, I haven't heard from them for a while. Announces spring U.S. tour. Here we go. Here's something that interests me, honestly, because I think this is something that I would look forward to. Not this show necessarily. Jeff Tate to perform Queensryche's entire Promised Land album at Belfast concert. I think it's cool what Jeff Tate is doing right now. You know, I know he has a lot of detractors. He's had a lot of... He's done and said some really stupid shit in the past, but he's on a new, in my opinion, Jeff Tate's on like this renovation or renaissance, because just his performances are better the last couple of years. Some of the albums he's done or been on more so have been pretty good. He he's obviously had... He's obviously been through some shit, you know, with Queensryche and stuff, and vice versa. But at this point, and I've seen Queensryche with Todd Latour, but at this point, I'd probably see Jeff Tate over Queensryche, just because more interesting stuff he's been doing as far as like, you know, performing whole albums and stuff. It's more interesting, like Rage for Order and Empire both live in one show, and you know, it just might be more interesting to me. So, on that note, I think they should release a Blu-ray DVD of the Promised Land show, because there was a lot. I didn't see that show, but there was a lot of like films they used, like Pink Floyd and all sorts of effects and like theatrical stuff they did during that tour. That would be really cool to see in high definition on some kind of Blu-ray or DVD thing. So, heavy metal community reacts to Russia-Ukraine crisis. I'm going to skip that. Creating a metal band, stop the war. Agreed. Violence hopes to record another EP. Rob Halford urges fans to keep voting for Judas Priest for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Sex Pistols had it right. You know, it's just a bunch of useless corporate music industry people voting to give themselves a blowjob, pretty much. Def Leppard's Rick Allen. If it weren't for Charlie Watts, I wouldn't be a drummer. Well, they both had their skills at one point. I mean, I'm not saying that he doesn't have skills now, but you know, I'm not a big fan of anything past Pyromania. But you know, the first two, and you know, especially there's some chops there. It was good. Talk about Def Leppard, of course, and I love Rolling Stones. Crowbar music video, yeah, bleeding from every hole. Holy shit. Silverstein announces new album, whatever. Don't even know what they sound like. Pantera comic book, okay. Evergrey album. I think I've seen Evergrey. That was at Prague Power or something. Tool's Maynard James Keenan is never satisfied with his performances. Former Morbid Angel frontman David Vincent's Blessed Are the Sick 30th anniversary celebration to kick off next month. Okay. That's cool. I might see that, you know. Destruction releases music video. Yeah, pretty cool. Metallica, skip. Sorry. Actually, that's the subject of today's episode, is Metallica versus Megadeth. Just as a spoiler alert, if you hadn't seen it from the title of the episode already. Slash never intended to make this top hat part of his signature look. Well, it's kind of like Richie Blackmore, you know, has a like that Pilgrim hat, which looked really cool. And a little story about that, you know, in 2020 and through a little bit of 2021, I was growing my hair out. I bought like a top hat and stuff, like an old Victorian era one. I was like trying to do some kind of new image if I would have joined a live lineup in my project, or like I was trying to rip off Richie Blackmore a little bit, just like Inve did. Except for Inve never wore a hat, but I admit it. Lamb of God is recording slamming new music. Okay. Yeah. Papa Roach frontman, skip. George Satriani. Okay, I'm just saying some of this stuff is just not, it's not like I would hate it. It's just like I just don't think it's super interesting to talk about in a podcast. That's my excuse. Sure, yeah, that's my excuse. Yeah. What makes System of a Down so musically different? They're one of the only new metal bands I liked, and U metal. Rob Halford says next Judas Priest album would probably have more progressive elements than Firepower. Huh. Well, I think Firepower was decent, but I don't know. Foo Fighters. Oh yeah, I was supposed to talk about that. I'm gonna actually take a little break while I listen to that Foo Fighters song, the metal song that they did, just in a second here, because I forgot that was by request. I was supposed to do that on this episode. Someone requested that I would talk about that song because yeah. So early recordings from Metallica and Rat featuring a Metal Massacre reissue. More political stuff. Todd Latour, Eddie Vedder, whatever. I'm just gonna come out and say fuck Eddie Vedder. Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know that's controversial. I'm being a little edgy here, but it annoys me. All his little statements. I'm Eddie Vedder. Fuck you. Anyways, this will definitely get an explicit warning on Spotify. Symphony X, new material. Okay, cool. I liked the last Michael Romeo album actually better than the newest Symphony X, by the way. That's a little secret for you out there. If you're interested, I would listen to the Michael Romeo album over that. Doesn't mean the new Symphony X will be bad. Hammerfall, another album. I haven't really heard them since, their fifth album. Cannibal Corpse fans say fuck Chris Barnes at Reading concert. That's kind of funny. I think Chris Barnes just is all sour grapes nowadays. Nancy Wilson says disagreement with Ann Wilson over band lineup kept Hard off the road last year. Oh, okay. Well, that sucks. Lion's Share. I haven't heard about them for a while. Testament Tour. Corey Taylor's wife. This is like Corey Taylor Central, this fucking website. Offspring singer, no comment. Dee Snider, whatever. Eddie Vedder's Earthling is top album in the country, whatever. Lacuna Coil, cool. They're okay. Rockers, Mourn Death of Mark Lanigan. Yeah, I think that I liked some of that stuff. I liked some of the Screaming Trees stuff. Believe it or not, even though I bash the 90s all the time, The 90s weren't all bad, just a lot of the blasé alternative rock, contemporary shit was shit. I remember going to this bar with my ex-girlfriend and this like restaurant or something, and they were playing like all this 90s stuff. And I'm just like, it was not like Alice in Chains or like even like Red Hot Chili Peppers. It wasn't like that. It was all this just like blah, like Hootie and the Blow. It would even made like Hootie and the Blowfish like sound good, like some of this stuff. And I'm just like, the 90s, I'm so glad it's over. They sucked. Exodus guitarist, okay. Black Crowes. Oh wow. Shake Your Moneymaker. I thought that was they're doing an album. Bret Michaels. I just laugh. Bret Michaels. Just watch Ralph Vieira's reviews of Poison. I just can't take them seriously anymore after watching this. I would say that. It was just fucking hilarious. Hailstorm. What about Ailstorm? Misery Index. Scorpions. Anvil. Van Halen again. The Sun. Smashing Pumpkins. Sum 41. Queen. Megadeth guitar. How many guitars has Dave Mustaine had? Jesus Christ. Just stop. I don't know. I don't know what goes into that. He has more. He almost has as many guitars as other lead guitarists. Like he almost has skips or jump ship from guitar companies as much as he replaces his other lead guitarists. Dave Mustaine. I think he's with ESP now or something. What is it? Or wait, let's see. Oh, it's Gibson. Is it Gibson? Yeah, I guess it's Gibson. Next will be with BC Rich or something again, or something like that.
I came back to BC Rich because they've always made quality instruments.
Duff McKagan joins Eddie Vedder. I like Duff McKagan. Guar Tour. I think we're back to last week. Ted Nugent, no comment. Talking about Trucker Convoy, no comment. I just don't want to talk about that stuff on here. Shine Down. I remember I was always insecure about that when musicians would say, I'm not going to talk about politics. It's like, or people, even friends, like, oh, what kind of beliefs must they have? Are they just this communist or are they this fascist secretly? It's so dramatic. Yeah. Shine Down. Okay. Tesla. Yeah. Lita Ford. John Schaefer. John Schaefer. I'm sorry, I just find this shit hilarious. It's continuing to cooperate with U.S. Capitol riot investigators. Well, I guess, man. All that, I'm not trying not to talk about politics because there's a lot of things that I probably think that John Schaefer has said in the past. I've mixed on his what he said in the past. There was, I'll just put it this way. Okay, so 20 years ago there was this Prague Power festival, one of the Prague Powers in Atlanta, and I didn't go to this party. There was an after party. It's a long story, but I didn't go to a lot of these after parties at the time. I guess John Schaefer was he just could not stop talking about Fox. This friend of mine told me he could not stop talking about Fox News, how great they were or something like that. I was just saying. And some of his stuff, he kind of went a different direction later, and some of the stuff he said was decent as far as corruption, stuff. So I'm not I'm not like one of these people that says, "Oh my God, we got to cancel John Schaefer because he did the Capitol LARP." I don't think. I mean, if I listen, I think if I own Burzum albums, I can get away with listening to Iced Earth, which I think he's misguided. I think he was misguided. I think he was pulled into something that obviously it's fucked up, but I'm not going to stop listening to Iced Earth, And probably maybe people will listen to this podcast and say, "Oh my God, you're so terrible. You're still listening to Iced Earth." I mean, the classic music just stands up still. The first, Burnt Offerings, Night of the Storm Rider, Something Wicked. I mean, they're all good albums. Even Dark Saga, which is a little softer, but all those albums are great albums. Just great. How are you what are you gonna do? Just ban all music from your collection because someone disagreed? I used to be like that though. I used to not listen to I didn't listen to Kiss for years because Gene Simmons was such a douchebag. But I don't do that anymore. Separate for the art from the artist. Our tax dollars are going to all sorts of fucked up shit anyway. So Corey Clark, speaking of that, Corey Clark on how jail stint inspired by Warrior Soul's new album out on bail. That's interesting. I kind of like that. That's an interesting story. I may want to read that later. Miles Kennedy. Yeah. Jeff Scott Soto explains how he dealt with racist attitudes early in his music career. I'm willing to bet he did. Got a great voice. Those first Inve albums, especially first few with him. I mean, the ones that with him on it. Great vocals. He's iconic vocalist. Because so many power metal bands kind of took that sound that he did on those Inve albums. People Inve writes everything, but he didn't sing like Jeff Scott. So he didn't Anyways, Garhira, I'm not super into. The Who, Korn, Rob Halford Blues album. I'm very interested in that. I'm done with the news for now. I think we'll go to this other segment, which I'm going to start in a minute because I have to listen to this song and I will give my complete analysis of it. And I will also not do what I was planning to do this episode. I apologize. I will save that for a different episode because I just want to go through this whole thing. I've changed my mind. It's all right. This is totally live right now. So other than me pausing it and listening to the song. So, all right. So I listened to that new Foo Fighters metal track. So that's is what this episode is going to be. The rest of this episode is going to be an analysis of that. But I'm going to be preparing for my next 2 episodes. Will probably be 2 interviews with 2 bands. So I'll be doing that a lot more. I'll probably get a little bit more professional on that, of course. Just kind of flying from the seat of my pants. So Foo Fighters go death metal. That's not entirely true. And this is like Guitar World. I'm just reading the headline. Go death metal and surprisingly heavy new track, March of the Insane, old school metal thrasher. Features a killer shred solo. It's not really shred. I'm going to be really nitpicky about this. So just be prepared. This is all an opinion. Ahead of the release of band's new movie, Studio 666, which is a horror movie. And Cinema Snob / Brad, what the hell's his last name, on YouTube did a review of it. That was pretty good, that movie. I like his stuff. So Foo Fighters have undergone a heavy transformation and debuted a new death metal style track. Track is attributed to a band called Dream Widow, about the band True Widow, and reports to be from the group's never-released debut album. See, I did that with this band, Bone Crusher, a couple months ago, which I'm going to be probably doing more. It's good. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's a track. I play this metalhead in this World of Darkness role-playing game, and he does this metal, early like black metal, thrash metal band called Bone Crusher. Not the rapper, but and I recorded the title track. So it's like a fake band, for instead of a movie, it's for a role-playing game that I play. It's not live action. It's tabletop role-playing game I play with some friends. Despite its comedic roots, this track, I'm reading from the article again, the track is nonetheless a convincing foray into the heavier end of the rock and metal spectrum, pulling in some speedy thrash riffs, growling vocals, and a tasty speed metal solo in the process. Okay, the chorus is a bit of an earworm too. Sing in the villainous choir, join the chorus of pain, rise in the ruinous army, dance to the march of the insane. Not bad. I guess it's from this movie that was just released too. Storyline follows the band's move in a mysterious mansion in Encino, California, as they attempt to record a new album. Things don't quite go to plan, and the group are reportedly left grappling with supernatural forces that threaten both the completion of the album and the lives of the band. Dream Widow is not the first Foo Fighters alter ego to emerge. Of course, the band spent a chunk of 2021 recording and performing as disco act The DGs. Studio 666 release. So for first thoughts, I have a mixed opinion of Dave Grohl. There's some things that he's done or said that are kind of annoying. I'm not really a big fan of the Foo Fighters. And one of the things that bothers me about these things, like Probot before, is that he this is going to sound like some sour grapes coming from me and some bitterness towards what has happened in the world of heavy metal over the last 30 years or so. But he has fully contributed to the anti-metal climate in the 90s when made fun of metal. Kurt would say stuff, and don't get me wrong, Nirvana pulverizes any Foo Fighters, in my opinion. I like Nirvana a lot more. Just my opinion. And I, even with the Probot thing, it was like, well, it sounds like a guy that doesn't play metal all that often trying to do metal. Sort of. Like, it sounds like a guy with let's put it this way. All right, like the first Sodom album, not very skillfully played, any of those albums, those early thrash albums. But these guys knew how to articulate that into music. It doesn't sound like this is, some of this doesn't sound like it's coming from someone that's like a metal musician. Like it's almost like an approximation of metal. Like even with Probot, which had all sorts of cool vocalists like King Diamond and Wino from St. Vitus and Spirit Caravan and stuff. And it's just and Lemmy was on there too. It doesn't sound, and even this even goes for this new track. It doesn't sound like a guy that knows like the ins that likes metal. Don't get me wrong. Probably genuinely always liked metal, even when he had to deny. Oh yeah, I have those Venom albums in my in the closet. They're in that crate. I do have them. I don't. When my hip friends or my girlfriend come over, I don't keep those out. But I go in there and play it secretly on headphones. Every couple days. When he's home on tour or whatever. I'm just just making this shit up, but. There's just like this approximation that's not right. And this new track is no different in a way. It sounds more, first of all, it's not death metal, okay? Death metal, it is not. No matter what the mainstream media are saying, like this is not the Foo Fighters kind of death metal. If anything, it's kind of thrash, almost like, I would almost call it like new wave of British heavy metal, like Motorhead influenced like early thrash metal with maybe a little bit of a crossover element, crossover like punk metal, and not really even thrash at that. It's like Motorhead, a little heavier than Motorhead maybe. And the solo is just, it's rudimentary kind of solo. It's not a shred solo. Whatever Guitar World said, that's ridiculous. They probably think Dragon Force are the first power metal band or something. People are just fucking clueless. As with anything, it's and yeah, the reason why I'm not doing the other segment on this, it's already gone 33 minutes on this podcast. So what do I think about it? I think it's okay. I don't think that you can pass off that as a death metal song. And that's just my criticism. I think musically it's halfway decent. It's halfway decent. But now the elephant in the room for me on this song are the vocals. And I'm not the greatest vocalist in the world, even on Bone Crusher. I can't say that, I'm a great vocalist or anything, even when doing extreme vocals. So the problem to me are the vocals sound like when you have this like, all right, I'm just going to sound really weird. Like you have some jock friend that listens to rap or pop, and they're trying to do like a joke approximation of death metal, where they kind of do this whisper, like half growl thing. They don't know how to, they don't know how to do that, right? They don't do that. They're just like it's just like this. It doesn't. That sounded a little more like a bad Tom Warrior, but it's just like. It doesn't hold, like, it doesn't sound right, and then he uses some effects on it. It doesn't sound right. It just doesn't, it's like this half-ass, like, rich Generation X guy that dabbles in metal, but he's, well, this is exactly what it is, and tries to do, like, this half-ass approximation. That's the worst criticism I can give it are the vocals. The lyrics aren't bad. He would have done better if he would have just done, like, a regular, like, Tom Araya or like even Lemmy kind of thing in the vocals, like rather because it doesn't fit the music as well either. There are bands that do that kind of stuff. Like what was that? Abath had a sort of Bathory-ish project where he did sort of Motorhead-ish, but he had his vocals over it. There are bands that did that, and like a lot of these. There was in the mid-'90s there were these retro thrash bands on Necropolis Records that were like these guys from other black metal bands or even power metal. And Nocturnal Rites had Guillotine, and they had this like retro thrash. So they'd play stuff that sort of had like it could sort of even this Dream Widow or whatever could sort of like fit into that because they sort of had black metal-ish vocals over more traditional kind of early thrash kind of sounds. But I'd take actually those bands any day over Dream Widow. I'm sorry, because the production is way too slick for that kind of music too. Oh, it's an unreleased album. I don't think he got the memo that that kind of stuff should have really kind of shitty production. That's, you see my Bone Crusher project, I'm not advertising it at all because some of it's kind of hard to listen to, honestly. But even that, like, I tried to go for the worst production possible. Not that my production of my other projects is that great yet, but you know, it's just, it's missing something. It's missing that. It's missing that core like metal background, and I almost say like the Trivium black metal project. I forgot what that's called. The Matt Heafy's project suffers from some of the same problems because it's like, I think that's his collaboration with Isan. The music's good, but the vocals just doesn't sound. Something sounds off in the vocal department. So like people don't think about when these guys they do these projects. I don't think Matt Heafy should have used metalcore style vocals in that Isan project he's doing. It was a big mistake. I think otherwise it's pretty good. I think also with Dave Grohl, he's doing this like half whisper, like growl, sort of half-ass, whatever. It's just oh God, I can't even quantify why it's so bad, but it's just like, it just doesn't work. And that kind of music did not have growls. Now, Bathory's first album, let's say like, you know, the song like War. Well, the Corathon he really had a crazy ass vocal, you know, style with even the early stuff, which does sound closer to what this Dream Widow sounds like. I'm not saying it sounds like Bathory, but it's, you know, new wave of British heavy metal inspired thrash, you know, early thrash, whatever you want to call it, proto black metal. That's what Bathory was, right, on the first album. But his vocals they fit, you know, like a puzzle piece. Like they're a little extreme for that style of music compared to like Venom, but it's kind of like the beginning, especially if you listen to, of course, listen to it sequentially, like each Bathory album got more and more extreme as time went on, but it had that quality to it, but this does not. It just sounds, and dare I say this, it almost reminds me of newer Metallica too, like just this slick ass like approximation of what thrash was back in the day. It doesn't have that urgency. Like he should have just done something that was really raw and not told anybody it was him or something, you know, like said, oh, I discovered this is what I would have done. This is just, you know, I don't know shit, right? You know, other than like 30 years of knowledge and background. But I just had to put that in there. But I really don't know shit at the end of the day. I'm just a person stating my opinion, right? And this is what I would have done though, is I would have said that I would have like recorded it really raw, like just like had, and get like a little more inebriated for it too, and not have any quantization. It sounds quantized. It sounds really artificial, honestly, like some of it. I realize he knows how to produce shit, right? He's been in the industry for 30 years, you know, 30 plus years. And he knows how to produce stuff. He knows how to engineer. But you've got to throw all that shit away when you're trying to do some kind of like fake thrash band for the mid 80s. It's supposed to be this fictional band that was undiscovered, right, in this movie. You have to throw all that shit away. You have to just say, okay, what would they do? Okay, they'd get it like a 4-track, right? Like an old Tascam 4-track and record a really shitty sounding song as a demo that was unreleased, and they'd put some like the vinyl, like the scratchy sound in there too. You know, it just doesn't work as a song. And there's newer thrash bands that do sound more, you know, in the slicker direction that easily beat it too, or even newer Motorhead-ish type of bands. I mean, go to that new wave of traditional heavy metal page on YouTube. There's a lot of cool stuff coming out. You know, there's a band Fortress I recently discovered from California, really good band. or one of my friends on Facebook actually posted it, and then I listened to it. I was like, yeah, I'll buy the album too. So it's not, like recently someone mentioned Metal Lucifer. That was, there's all sorts of bands that do retro thrash, and Dave Grohl just sounds like a rich Generation X alternative rocker doing thrash with sort of loosely sort of halfway to black metal vocals over the top. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. Criticize me if you want. Oh, I'm so excited about this new Foo Fighters metal song. Oh my God, it's got to be really crazy stuff. Oh, wow. And people act like it was like some kind of like people acted like, oh, it's going to be like this it's going to sound like Incantation or like Deicide or Morbid Angel or fucking, even like, Job for a Cowboy or some shit, like really, I don't know, or grind, some grind band or something, Dying Fetus or something, People act like it's going to be some super heavy thing. It's like, turns out it's just like middle-aged Generation X, rich dude, normie, alternative band, rock star, approximation of thrash metal with sort of black metalish vocals. All right, I'm being an asshole. I'm sorry, Dave Grohl. I'll make it up to you one day. I mean, it just doesn't jibe with me. It's just not. It's okay, right? It has some good riffs. It's not terrible. It just doesn't work as what he was trying to do with it. That's my opinion. It's a failure because it fails at the intention of it was supposed to be. I haven't seen the movie. Okay, maybe I misspoke. Maybe it's supposed to be a '90s band. I don't know. I think I know what he was trying to do, just like what I did with my Bone Crusher project months back. You're trying to do what I did was, okay, the game takes place in 1984, and I'm this kid, 17-year-old kid who got the first Bathory album in Massachusetts, even though I'm in Massachusetts, and I do this retro cult thrash black metal, proto black metal band called Bone Crusher, and I do a song called Bone Crusher, and it has a picture of a burnt church on it, even though it's like adjusted and stuff, but like. And that was before all that stuff. And the logo is definitely anachronistic as well. So it looks like a 90s black metal band. But, nevertheless, I did this I might do more of this project too. Some of my production is just not so great. So I'm trying to get better at that first. But it's supposed to have bad production anyway, so I'm not as worried about with this project. But he just doesn't understand the essence of the whole thing you're supposed to do with that kind of music, it seems like. And Probot suffered a lot of the same stuff. Probot was his own unique thing, though, in a way. Like, at least, like, okay, this is his metal project. Okay, hipster metal. No, it kind of is hipster metal, but it's like it doesn't nail. You have to be like, I know he was in like some sort of crossover-ish bands in the late 80s, right before Nirvana, but that's different than he doesn't get the essence of the metal thing right in a certain way. And that's not a knock on his musical talent or his ideas of his other bands or other projects. It just doesn't feel like he knows what he's doing with metal. I know someone that's doing a metal project who is actually a relative who's actually in a semi-famous band. I'm not going to mention who they are, or they're becoming more famous. And he sent me some clips, right? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I would, even though he's not in a metal band, he's never been in a metal band, he's just starting to play metal. Even his rudimentary demos, this relative of mine, are 1,000 times more, have that essence more than Dave Grohl's stuff. I'm going to tell him that too. Like, he has way more talent as far as playing metal than Dave Grohl does. Sorry to say that, but it just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't. But you know, and it's kind of a bittersweet thing too. And like I said, I don't like this whole idea that these guys were in the '90s bashing metal. You know, like Bleach is. This is going to kind of sound controversial, and I know he wasn't on Bleach, but the album Bleach by Nirvana sounds more metal than this new metal project from Dave Grohl. Like some of the songs on there have more viciousness and darkness and that essence that I'm talking about than this new Dave Grohl project. It's just too fucking safe. Okay, let's just say it. It's too damn safe. It is not the same as, like, I don't know, like it's just too safe and too sterilized to be what it's supposed to be in this movie, in my opinion. It's like when you watch a movie, like I was watching this other movie about, what was it? I think it's a Spanish horror movie with this supposed death metal band and the end of the world and stuff. Even that was like this industrial metal, and it was supposed to be some death metal. It wasn't right. They didn't get it right. I just hate when they don't get shit right. Of course, Dave Grohl should fucking know better than that. But like, it's, you know, if he did a project that he just called it metal, and he didn't really say that it was supposed to be this or that, I would have more respect for it like that. Because it's like, oh yeah, this is just my metal project. I'm influenced by a bunch of stuff. Oh yeah, I have a little bit of Motorhead and thrash and a little bit of a black metal vocal over it. Yeah, it's not bad, you know. But it just doesn't have like I don't know if it's knowledge or just the feeling of how to play like that. And that's sad, you know? And it's cool that he, you know, at the same time, I'm not going to bash him too much. You know, it's like, at least he's like telling people about metal and informing them about metal bands and stuff, like with Probot, you know, and there's a lot of things that Dave Grohl has done and said that really are cringe and annoy me, of course, too. I'm not going to be around the bush about that. I'm not going to go into what particular things that I have against him, but there are things that are really annoying with him. But yeah, I just don't think it's just not quality to what the hype is too, with a lot of these articles about it. Like, kind of disappointing, you know. It is what it is. It's all right. It's metal. I mean, yeah, it's metal. See Probot, the riffs and stuff sounded still kind of grungy, right? I mean, not grungy in like a bad way though. Like not in like a post, okay, not in a post grunge way, but actually grungy. Like if Kim Thale like started a thrash band, right? It still had that like sloppiness to it, like sort of like that grunge had. And I like a lot of grunge, so it was. I think Kim Thale actually played guitar on it too. But so it's like this doesn't have that. This doesn't have that at all. This new project. And I'm talking about Probot versus this, which is Dave Grohl's other metal project he did like 20 years ago now or something. It doesn't have that, but in a way that would have been better in a certain way. But it's like too slick, too modern. It's the production's too modern. Period. It's not supposed to sound like that. It doesn't. I'm blabbing for an hour about this fucking Dave Grohl metal song, but it's fine. It just doesn't sound. It's not supposed to sound like that. That's just not how, like, that style of metal doesn't need that. That production, the production and the vocals are the worst things about it, right? The song is not half bad. The riffs and the solo are not bad, you know. But I just don't think it's just. I'm not trying to say like metal is like a tribe or like a race or this like cult or something that you can't like. If you're not in it, like you don't understand, but it almost is in a certain way. Because like, if you didn't grow up like metal, and I'm not saying that Dave Grohl didn't grow up metal. Obviously, he liked some metal growing up, but like, if you weren't like fully, I think Sum 41 had some metal project too or something. Like, if you didn't grow up as a metalhead in this certain way, it just doesn't sound as authentic when you try to, you know, do a metal song. Like, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, it just, it's this formative thing that happens when you're 10, 11, 12 years old. You get into metal, you have this thing, like, if you're really actually into metal, I mean, like, if you don't disown it later, I was just a kid, I was pissed off, so I liked metal, fuck you. So, it's not like that. It's this actual thing, this actual feel. It's like, even, you can't, I mean, there's certain things, there's certain, like, vibes, energies that are put out there by musicians that they can't get away from if they try, and if you're not in that realm in the beginning, I mean, it just doesn't work in a certain way. If you're not, like, if he had been recording, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he has probably hundreds of songs, like, unreleased. I'm sure he's just like one of those musicians. It seems like they've done that, like anybody. He's done probably dozens of metal demos, in his garage or wherever his studio is, Dave Grohl. But this one just misses the mark. It just doesn't have that essence, that raw essence that it needs for that kind of music. And the vocals are just, in 1984, one of the only people doing that kind of vocal, like that kind of black metal-ish, proto-black metal vocal was Korthon. I mean, Tom Warrior did some stuff, and there were some other bands that sort of approximated somewhat that, but the most extreme one of the most extreme ones was definitely Korthon. I can't, like, praise that highly enough, and hopefully I'm not overstating this, because there's obviously a lot of other bands out there that were doing extreme vocals by then, but the most, like Death by Metal, I think, was 84, trying to remember, Possessed demos, and stuff like that. It's just different types of these bands that came out that did that kind of vocal. And when you mix it with the style of music that song has, it sounds a little off kilter. It has to be more down-tuned, more raw, more grimy, a little more evil too. I mean, it's a little too, like, hit the lights, too like first Metallica album rather than, like, dissonant, kind of stuff. To be fair, Bathory's first album didn't have all that much dissonance. It did have some, though. There were songs that were pretty evil sounding, quote unquote. But it wasn't as much as, like, The Return or Under the Sign of Darkness, an Evil, or obviously Blood, Fire, Death. But it definitely had more. It had more than the song that Dave Grohl just put out. It's okay, It just, what I'm trying to think of this other band. There was this Venom type of band that was out. I can't remember their name. I was listening to them the other night. Oh God, I can't even remember their names. There's so many bands back then that did do pretty evil stuff, but it misses the mark, I would have listened to some old Creator records, like their Endless Pain album and some of their demos, and Sodom's first album, and EP. I would have listened to that kind of stuff, and then listened to Venom and Bathory and Celtic Frost, Hellhammer. I would have just and then I would have just gotten together and gotten super high and drunk with these guys, the Foo Fighters guys, and just try to do, like, the rawest shit ever with a 4-track, like vintage Tascam 4-track, minimal effects, mastered it, analog, and then release that. But that did not happen, and I'm talking way too long about this, but that is kind of what I was trying to get to the point. Oh, now my thing is staggering. Okay. There was this recent commercial I heard where this mom is doing a podcast the first time, and she's like, "Oh, how do I do that?" Not responding. Okay, that's great. I just talked for an hour. It's not going to save, or hopefully it does. Just a second. Okay, looks like it's working again. But anyways, that was a little technical difficulty, but that's really all I got to say. I wish him luck with the metal songs and the metal project. I think he could do an okay job if he wanted to. I'm not going to buy it or anything. It's not really my thing. Just doesn't have the style I'm looking for. It's kind of funny. I mean, there's all sorts of retro bands that have come out that in the last few years, like these Swedish bands like Heat or Crazy Licks or Eclipse is a little older. Some of these bands are like doing like sort of hair metal AOR-ish kind of stuff, and they weren't born during that time, or they didn't really experience that time, but they sound pretty damn good. They sound pretty damn good. And so it's not like you have to grow up a teenage reject metalhead to know how to play thrash or death metal, quote unquote death metal. It's not death metal. It's not death metal. Shut up, media. I remember when the news did after Columbine, they said that the Columbine kids listened to quote unquote industrial noise, which KMFDM is not. Maybe their first album has some noise stuff, but anyways, that's about all. I will be coming back next week, hopefully with some interviews, and you can listen and support the podcast and share it. And leave me some troll comments. That would be kind of cool. Anyways, that's it. Bye.